Hello, everybody. Welcome to, I believe it's episode 4. I don't even know anymore. Episode 4 of Coast to Coast, this new Habs Tonight segment. And I'm here with my friend Damen. And Damen, how are you doing, man?
Doing good, Adrian. How's your day going?
Busy, man. I'm tired. Work's really busy today. And obviously, I was up late last night from the Super Bowl. I don't know if anyone was watching that. Very big win for the Chiefs. I won a ton of money yesterday, so I woke up in a very, very good mood today. Um, the glass case of emotions I was feeling during that game. I won. I'm not going to go into the exact amount, but a couple $100. That's all I'm going to say. And I was really happy. So that was a great game, by the way, for anyone that watched. The halftime show was fantastic. Just like Rihanna, like nostalgia, like bringing me back to like when I was a kid and stuff, like when I was like in high school listening to this music. It's just like it was great, man. Just belting out those Rihanna songs in the middle of the bar was like one of the most fun parts about the night. And Patrick Mahomes put on a great show. With his ankle was all busted up, and he still came back and just he has the intensity of a hockey player. I tell you, man, that guy is something else. I see so much of like Tom Brady in him, just so many similar ways.
Yeah, Mahomes is just built different. I'm not a football fan,
Yeah.
but yeah, I swear to God, like he's probably like the second coming of Tom Brady, like you said. Then I noticed like he slipped, and not just him. I noticed like the ground conditions were not very good at the Super Bowl yesterday. So many guys were
Very
slipping, and
bad.
I'll say this: I was cheering for Kansas City because a buddy of mine does not like the Philadelphia Eagles whatsoever. So, and I'm gonna say, and I found this to be really weird. At the end of the game, I got confused why the receiver didn't run at the end for the touchdown with 1 minute left, and I didn't realize that there was a whole thing we could just run down the clock, and then just get a field goal, and then barely give them any time to come back. Like that's something like
Yeah.
I learned yesterday, but it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, man. It was great, man. It was like that game was just so back and forth. Like I said, like it was just insane. And even at the end too, I saw him like running and I was like, "What are you doing?" And then like everyone was like, "What are you doing?" And then we were looking at the clock and then we saw how many timeouts the Eagles had and we're like, "Oh, okay, that's good then. Just bleed it out and then score a late field goal and then yeah, it was great, man. It was awesome. I was so happy. I was jumping up and down at the bar when I won my when my parlay came through for me. So it's good stuff. It was a great night. And just Super Bowl is always fun, man. Even if like you're not, even if you're not a football fan too, like it's just a very like culturally and just socially, it's really like become a big part of us. And I'd say even worldwide in Europe, it's pretty big in certain parts and mainly in North America, obviously. But like it's a very big and very fun cultural event that we do here.
I agree. Also, the commercials. I'm one of those people who will talk and just have a good time during the first half of the game, and then whenever the commercials come on, tell everyone in the room to shut up. We have to watch this commercial.
Yeah, the commercials.
The trailers,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, we don't really get the as much of the good commercials as America does. But hey, it's still pretty good. I've seen some pretty good ones over the years.
At least we got a new Mandalorian trailer and a Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy, so I'm pretty happy.
there was another one I saw too. It's for Volkswagen. Volkswagen's making bringing back those vans that they used to have in the 70s, and it's like an electric car. And I was like, I saw that in the middle of the bar, and I was like, holy crap! I was like, they're bringing those back. I was like, wow, that's awesome, right? But yeah, man, it's good stuff, man. I always look forward to it every year. Like it's always like such a fun thing. The only thing that sucks though is it's on a Sunday and then you got to go to work the next day or you got to go to school the next day, and it's like crap, unless you book it off. But like, yeah,
Yeah, I always wished it was on a Saturday night, because you could
awesome.
stay up and like watch it like the next game, like you're saying. But this should be a rule, in my opinion. If I ever became prime minister, I would make the Monday after Super Bowl a day off from work, just so people can stay up and enjoy and watch the game.
That's right, man. Or even if like I own my own company, I think like I would probably allow that. Like, just like an optional day or whatever, right? And if you make up the time another time or something like that, that'd be cool. But yeah, wishful thinking, unfortunately. So yeah, let's get into the mixture, buddy. Speaking of the Habs always have Super Bowl Sunday games, right? And usually the Super Bowl weekend they have usually they play 2 afternoon games traditionally. So this weekend they faced the Islanders on Saturday and the Oilers yesterday, and they played 2 pretty good games. Personally, I didn't really get a chance to watch. Again, very busy weekend. I had work yesterday, and then Saturday I was out ice fishing. To be honest, just being honest, where I was. Um, and yeah, so I didn't really get a chance to watch. But Damon, were you able to watch, and could you give me a little insight on what you saw?
Adrian, let's just say I was in a similar boat to you. I didn't
Hmm.
watch the Saturday game. I saw some of the highlights, and
Oh, okay,
I
good.
think we I think we played well in the Saturday game against Sounders, and Islanders are a good team. They've added a lot of good pieces to become that contender, and I still think they'll need to add more.
Mhm.
But I can't believe we beat the reverse retro court curse. I think this
Oh
is like our
man,
second ever win in the reverse retro. I'm pretty sure our first ever win was against the Canucks in 2021. But with these Expos themed
right.
reverse retros, this is our first ever win. So felt pretty nice. And also like, getting to see certain players on the score sheet. We got to see Justin Barron get his first this season. I've been liking his game
Yep.
since he's came back from Laval. We got to see the tank commander himself, Mike Hoffman. Jonathan Drouin's getting on the board right before the time we need to trade him. And same with
Yeah.
Dadonov. A lot of our trade chips at least are putting up points, so that was pretty nice. And Allen and Monty both had good games over the weekend.
Yeah, man. I saw little clips and highlights on Instagram because usually the Habs Instagram channel posts videos of like the goals and like some highlights, right? So yeah, like from what it looks like, they played pretty well. It was great. And obviously a lot of fans weren't happy on Twitter about them winning the 2 games and sweeping the weekend series. But they're in a situation that they are. Yes, like maybe people want them to tank, but we've talked about this on the show, and Dale's talked about this too. Like athletes aren't taught to tank and intentionally lose games. You go out there to compete every game. Like it's just not in their blood, right? Like it's how you can't just tell them to lose on purpose, right? Like I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like I understand people, and trust me, for the better of the team, maybe you want to have that kind of perspective of, yeah, maybe they should tank this year and try to like lose as much as they can. But like the players aren't thinking that, right? The players are not thinking let's lose every game so we can get a draft pick that might pan out for us, right? So I mean it's great to see the certain players on like just off the top of my head, like Raphael Harvey Pinard has just been unbelievable since being called up. We've talked about it on here before. He's just been on a absolute roll, and I love that guy. Like personally, I'm just endorsing him right now. Like great, like just doing everything great. Um, and also, we got to give a shout out to Alex Belzile, who scored his first goal yesterday against the Oilers, and it was a very nice goal. We gotta give him a shout out here because his story is always something really special. I remember when he started playing games. I think it was in the bubble playoffs, if I'm correct, Damon.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
the
they called
bubble.
him up.
Yeah, that just brings back some nostalgia with the bubble. Like back when I was 20, no, I was 18 years old. Can't believe I'm
Yeah,
20
man,
now, but yeah,
buddy.
that 2020 times. Yeah, he was
I'm
good on that
26
fourth
now,
line
man,
of
and
the
I was
bubble. Yeah,
23. Yeah, the fourth line with I think it was Domi. It was our founder Dale Weiss and Alex Belzile, if I'm correct. I think they were
oh,
on the fourth line together.
it was
Oh,
actually it was Wheel before before Belzile, but
oh, right,
I remember
right.
Domi. I think I went after Claude Julien had to leave the bubble. It got switched with Evans, Armia, and Belzile, and
That's right.
Belzile. I just love his story because he was undrafted and he clearly, like you said, he clawed his way over into the NHL. He started just playing games in ECHL, worked his way up to the AHL, and now he's in the NHL, and he finally got a score goal at 31. Like you said, it's like those are the stories is why we love the sport so much.
Yeah, man. And like just a lot of guys like when the ECH when it comes to the ECHL, you don't really hear many stories of guys making the league, right? Because it's pretty hard with like the American League is hard, and like just climbing the ladder, in the terms of what you're facing every night is really hard. So it's awesome to see how he's really worked hard and to get to where he is, and it's just it's just a very wholesome thing, right? So that's why I want to give him a shout out for a guy who's really paid his dues in the sport for sure, and just to get the opportunity he's getting now is something spectacular.
I agree. Well said. I think it's like it's just unbelievable, and also like that whole fourth line. Like you have like a lot of the guys who clawed their way into the NHL. You have Pizzetta, who he was drafted, but he wasn't per se like one of the most skilled guys out there. And then you have Raphael Harvey-Pinard, who was passed on twice in the NHL draft, and then drafted in the 7th round. And in a year that he won the Memorial Cup and was a big part of the reason why the Noranda Huskies won that, and like the goal streak that he's on in the point streak. I remember a funny thing George Larocque said. He said that Raphael Harvey-Pinard would never be an NHL player. And man, he would be an NHL player in any NHL team at this very moment.
Absolutely. And he's just, man, he just seems like he's like they call him the Lavaliger, I think.
Yeah.
Is his nickname. Like, again, he plays just like him. I think obviously he's a little bit taller than Gally, but nothing against Gally there, not dissing his height or anything. But it's just, he plays a similar game, and I think the fans are in for a treat for him. Hopefully he's going to be there. I mean, personally, I think he's going to be there for quite a while, it looks like, and obviously he's making his impact. And obviously I think he's also on a contract year, right? So obviously he's wants to stay in Montreal.
And he's proving that he should be staying in Montreal. And I think at the beginning of next season, I want Ylonen and Harvey-Pinard to be on our third line at the very least. That might be a hot take, but both those guys proven to me that they should be on the NHL roster to start the next season.
I remember seeing Ylonen when I went to that Laval game in January. Man, oh man, he can skate. He's a fast skater, and he's fantastic. So yeah, I would love to see him on, like, just starting on the bottom six next year, and kind of see where it goes from there.
Yeah, and something else that I find that attracts me a lot with Ylonen's game is not just his skating. His skating is really good. His shot, I find his shot so underrated. Now, when he's on the power play over in Europe, especially when he played, I think it was for Turku, I think it was, he just released that puck and easily into the back of the net on the power play from the same spot Ovechkin did. By no means am I comparing him to Ovechkin or anything like that, but just his release, like over in Europe, was like at least like from what he models his game, like that kind of shot, and in the similar spot to Ovechkin. But I find the thing he lacks over in North America is like the lack of space and command. Because I've seen him rip it like a lot in the NHL times, but it just misses the net, similar to Hoffman-esque style. So, but I still think like there's still a lot that Ylonen offers to the game, especially for the Habs and on the defensive end. Like I think he could kill penalties as well. And I saw him make a lot of good reads earlier this year. I remember in that Nashville game that we won on the PK Subban night, I remember there was that Kirby Dach goal. If it was usually a system-based play, he probably just would have let the puck go. But he read that there was no one in the middle of the ice, and he saw the puck going in the middle of the ice, and then he just read it really nicely, and then created that play to Drew to Dach to the back of the net. So I think he's one of those players who's going to really play well under Marty's style of hockey.
Agreed.
What are your thoughts,
think so
Adrian?
too. Yeah, I agree, man. Like, from what I've seen of him so far, I'm really impressed. I think it's just right now there's just a very big logjam, overall on their four lines, right? So I think maybe by next year there's going to be a lot of contracts that are going to be cleared out, and you're going to start seeing the Harvey Pinards and the Ylonens that are going to start getting more ice time and maybe more full time ice time on the team, right? So it's definitely something positive for the future. I personally really like him, and I've said this so many times on this show, but like I'm really excited about the future of this team for the first time in a very long time. Even if they don't finish in the bottom five this year and they don't get a lottery pick, it's still a very, very deep draft. And I've heard good things about I think Will Smith is his name, that center, plays in I think he plays in NCAA. I've heard a lot of good things about him, and even if they can get him, or maybe a guy like Michkov, or I mean, I doubt this is going to happen. This is just, again, armchair Adrian GM, but like if Fantilli drops a little bit, which I really doubt, would love to have that guy. That's a pipe dream. But there's a lot of good players available in this draft this year. So even if they don't finish in the bottom 5, there's still a decent amount out there. So always got to be positive and have positivity about that.
Yeah. And also, Florida is not in the playoffs as it sits right now. By no means are we're probably going to get that Bedard pick or a top lottery pick with the Florida pick. But looking where they are right now, that's a similar spot to where we got Caulfield. And if we can get a player with similar quality to Caulfield or that kind of steal in the draft, like that would look really good for us and our drafting. But we have so many good prospects right now, and it's like you said, we're so excited for the team's future, see what they do in a few years.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be great. And I just thought of this just now, actually. Like, if Florida, ends up missing the playoffs, and kind of finishes in not really a great spot, like good, but not bottom 10. I just thought about this. Maybe you can see that first round pick from Florida get moved in a trade to maybe acquire, I don't know, maybe again, I don't know if people agree with this, maybe like a Pierre-Luc Dubois or somebody like that, someone of that stature, and maybe do a sign and trade where they trade for a guy like Dubois and then sign him long term after, right? Like maybe that's a opportunity, right? But I think it depends where Florida finishes in the end. But maybe if you're Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton, you maybe don't rule that out. That could be a possibility.
Yeah, like that sounds a lot like an interesting gamble to me, but knowing Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes' history so far with trading, a lot of their, I guess we could call it semi-gambles, because I still think even if we do a sign and trade with that first round pick and another piece for Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think it could work out pretty well if we do acquire him. But even if not, I think it's okay to wait a season or two to see when he becomes a free agent and then sign him then and there. But just imagine now how sexy it would be to have Nick Suzuki, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Owen Beck, Riley Kidney as your center depth in the NHL. Like that.
And, yeah,
no team wants to mess with that.
And potentially Will Smith.
Oh yeah, and potentially Will Smith, yeah.
Or someone
and Riley
like that.
Kidney is killing it in the Kiev right now. I find he's one of the more underrated prospects. He got traded from Teton over to Gatineau. He's tearing it up for the Olympic, and I saw one of his games against the 67s. He just drives the play all by himself, and I find his hockey IQ is pretty good, and he's one of those players who carries the puck, but not because he's selfish. It's because he knows that's what the best play is, and he knows when to release the puck. And I find like his hockey IQ again just so good. Like it's just another level.
I heard about him like heating up down in junior there. So again, lots of stuff to look forward to. A lot of good players coming up the ranks, guys. So be patient. Like I always say this, but like trust the process. I know I keep saying it. Fans are probably getting annoyed at me saying it, but you can just trust the process, man. Like it's gonna be worth the while. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and there's something I actually wanted to touch on quickly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on our defense right now because we have some of the best young defensemen in the NHL. Like you look at our left side right now: Harris, Jackay, Goulet, Hudson. Then we have Meier and we have Barron. Like that is so nice. And you know what I heard from Marco D'Amico. I think he wrote an article recently talking about Habs players he expects us to trade, and I was really big on him at the beginning, and I thought he would turn into a good NHL player. But right now, I think he still could, but not in our system. Do you think Matthias Norlinder will be moved at this deadline? Because I seem to think that he's one of the underrated Habs trade chips.
Yeah, like that's actually a good point. Like a lot of people have been like, we all were, even me. I was really up on Matthias Norlinder. Like I'd say maybe maybe a year or two ago, I remember he started kind of making waves right in Europe, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, when's he going to come to North America?" And I don't know. Like he's playing in Laval right now, and he if they can if they can trade him and get something good for him, maybe. Like again, there's just so much logjam everywhere, and like right now and in the future, right? So it's like, where does he fit? I mean, I think he's he's tremendous. I think he's got a lot of talent and a lot of potential to show, but it's just there's so much logjam now, right? And I mean, these are honestly good problems to have, right? Like it's not like you have lack of depth in these positions. That would be a really like disastrous problem to have. But having a lot of depth and not knowing what to do with it is not necessarily a bad thing. So, yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with him. I know like a lot of fans have been really big on him the last little while. But we'll see what happens. I know he's gotten a few games with the Habs here and there, but I honestly, that's a good question. I don't know what's going to happen with him. If they trade him and maybe they get some like, picks or whatever prospect, whatever it is, hey, we can just trust the current regime and they might maybe do the right thing.
Yeah, and speaking of the current regime, apparently they're looking to potentially a new starting goalie, and this starting goalie I'm a big fan of, Devin Levy. And I'm thinking maybe if because he's probably not going to start out in Buffalo because they have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as their future starter for how it sounds right now.
Mhm.
So I've been thinking about this for some time. I wonder if there would be a trade potentially with Levy coming to Montreal and then Norlinder and another piece going the other way back. I want to get your thoughts on that.
That's a good. I guess you can say it's like a mock trade or like a prediction. That'd be awesome. Actually, I think that's a trade that would work out for both teams, right? Like, Buffalo's blue line isn't bad, but having a guy like a Norlinder would be pretty good. And Montreal needs goaltending in the future, right? And if it's a need for both teams. So I think that's a very good trade proposal or mock trade or whatever you would want to call that. That'd be a very good trade for both teams, in my opinion.
I agree, and also there's a lot of connections between Kent Hughes and Northeastern University because Kent's son Jack plays at Northeastern, and Marty's son Ryan plays at Northeastern, and Devin Levy is the main starting goalie at Northeastern. So I just think that whole Northeastern University connection, I think there's a lot wherever you see the smoke, there's fire. And I think that is something that I would not be surprised to see happen on deadline day. I'm calling it right here. I would not be surprised if that happens.
That'd be awesome. That would be again a fantastic trade for again for both teams, but it'd just be a big one up for Montreal because of the current situation, right? And obviously, Devin Levy, I've heard a lot of good things about him. And man, that'd be great to have him, maybe in the next few years on their roster, if
Yeah,
that were to happen.
yeah, but I think him coming would be good. But also, I still think we have other good goalie prospects now that we're on that topic. Because we have Caden Primo, who I think will still be an NHL goalie, but whenever it's come to him playing, I just find that he lacks consistency in large sizes of playing NHL games. I find when he plays one or two at a time during a specific call up, he plays well, but then if he plays 3, 4, 5, or 6, it just doesn't work out, I find. And then you have Jacob Dobes, who's one of the nominees for Habs. He's one of the Habs prospects nominated for the Hobie Baker, along with Lane Hudson and Sean Farrell. So I still wonder about Dobes, but I still have questions and some doubts about how his game will translate to the NHL.
Yeah, I mean that's true too. Like Caden Primo, he was obviously like I'd say about maybe 3-4 years ago, he was, like supposed to be the guy, from what I saw, the guy that it's supposed to be replacing Carey Price whenever he's done, right? And I mean, like like you said, like he plays well and like in small samples, right, in the NHL. Maybe he gets burnt out, after a few games or whatever, but. Yeah, again, another thing, lots of depth all over the organization. So it's a good problem to have where you're going to have guys competing for maybe, a potential spot down the road. Obviously, and even I remember you said too, Damon, about Montembeault even still being in the mix in the future. So like a lot of good options going forward. So, we'll see what happens.
I agree. I just want to switch gears here a bit.
Sure.
So I want to talk a bit about the All-Star game and the All-Star skills competition. So I know it wasn't very popular. I didn't get to watch the entire weekend, but I want to let you lead on this, Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the actual game. I saw the highlights the next day. I went to the bar like the afternoon, like after, and I watched the highlights. And I mean, it's it was just, it's just the All-Star game. They're just coasting around, and it's just fine. Hey, like they're not trying to go hard and potentially risk an injury, like, for God's sakes, right? So um I watched I watched bits of the skills competition on Friday, like, before I went to my hockey, right? I play hockey usually Fridays, and um yeah, it was just like, I don't know what the marketing point was. Oh, well, I want to see this comment. A lot more joy in the yeah. Oh, for sure,
So
man, for
true.
sure. Yeah, it was like there was times where, like, the crowd was just so quiet, and I'm like, this is the All-Star game. Like, this is like one of the big events of, like, your season, and, like, the fans are, like, quiet. You can hear a pin drop across the rink. It's like, come on. Like, I mean, I think putting it in, like, a warm climate, like, was a cool idea. I know they had, like, in LA. I think in LA 6 years ago when they had that All-Star game, they had, like, the celebrity All-Star game. Like, it was a good, like, All-Star weekend. And even last year in Vegas was pretty good too. Like, that one was good. This year, I don't know, it just felt really forced. Like, it was just, it, I don't even know where to start. Like, some of the stuff they were trying to do is just so cringy, and, like, nothing against the league. It's just, I think we've talked about this too. Like, I just think the NHL needs to, like, really revamp their marketing team, or, like, what they're trying to do to market the game. Like, the All-Star game is one of those events that, or the All-Star weekend, sorry. Like, most sports do this to, like, really grow the game, and bring in new fans, or even casual fans, like, whatever, right? Like, just bringing in new fans, right? And make it fun. But, like, everything they try to do is just feel so forced and cringy. Like, I know it sounds like kind of harsh, but, like, it's the truth. Like, I don't
It
know how
is.
else to say it. It just seems so forced, and, like, everything is so cringy. But, like, I mean, I don't know, man. It's the NHL, and even going forward with that, when Nick Suzuki won that golf thing, which was really
Chipotle.
cool, by the way. Yeah, he won free Chipotle for a year, and there's no Chipotle stores in Quebec. Sorry, like, at all. Like, that is the most NHL thing ever. I thought that was so funny. I'm like, that's like back then with those, like, I don't know if everyone remembers those Bad Luck Brian memes, like, when like 10, 11 years ago. It was literally just like that. Like, wins free Chipotle, no stores in Quebec. It was just, I don't know. It was great. I mean, whenever a lot of people were saying, like, when they go on the road, like, maybe he's gonna have it. It was just funny. I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I laughed at that. I was like, not a single store in Quebec, and he wins Chipotle. That's amazing. Free
They should have
Chipotle
just
for the
sent
year.
him like a whole Costco sized thing of it to his house of Chipotle for the year.
At that point, yeah, they should have just did something to work around that. But personally, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, hey, let's see this. Nick winning a full year for Chipotle with none in Quebec. Yeah, yeah, I know. It was great. I got a good laugh out of that. But I mean, next year, I'm from the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. The All Star Game is gonna be in Toronto next year. I really hope they don't botch this one. I mean, I still call it the ACC, by the way, but the Air Canada Center, Scotiabank Arena, whatever the heck you want to call it, I still call it ACC just because it's been my whole life calling it that. But it's a lot of suits that go there. I have a bad feeling that it's just going to be suits at the game, at the week, the skills comp, and the game. It's just, I hope it's. I'm praying it's not going to be like that, but I have a feeling it might. So we'll see. I think it's going to be in a better spot. I mean, Florida was a good experiment, but just didn't.
I'll say this positive on a positive note with Florida. I did like that they
Sure.
had outdoor themed hockey things like that. I like the golf event where Nick Suzuki won the free Chipotle. Or I found that to be fun, and
Yeah.
then I found like the water tanks to be pretty fun with PK Subban hosting
Yeah.
that part.
That was cool,
Well,
actually. Yeah, I will say.
that was
I got to.
highlights for me of it, which is kind of sad to say.
Yeah.
But I just wish the NHL did more. But something I also want to see more, because I noticed in other sports they usually have more celebrity representation.
Hmm.
Like, is this really the best celebrities we can do? People I've never heard of. I'm sorry, we
Yeah.
can't get any. Like, we got John Hammond past, we got Machine Gun Kelly, we got Megan Fox in past at All Star Game, and you got to get. I feel like you need more celebrity appearances, like to get people to watch the All-Star game and to get more people
Absolutely.
to watch. Because if people are fans of these celebrities, they'll say, "Oh, these people are at the game. Let me like learn a bit about hockey."
Yeah,
And, like Jay Birchall's a big hockey fan, and he makes a lot of good, funny sports movies and also just generic comedies. But why not have him at an All-Star game? I think that just to that point, I think the NHL needs to do. I think they need to get more marketable names and celebrities. Try to encourage them to be involved with the All-Star game.
I agree. It's like, I mean, like I'm just saying for next year though, for when they have it in Toronto, uh, I really like. I don't know like how people are gonna feel about this, but I really hope they get like Justin Bieber really involved in
He
it
will be
because
apparently.
that's that. And see, that's what I mean. Like that's a great marketing move because that's gonna be a guy who's big in the in the United States as well as Canada, but that's a guy that you know is gonna attract a lot of American fans, right? Because a lot of people in the U.S. do like him. And I mean, there's this other guy. I think he's like a TikToker or something. I know the NHL had him. It was Josh Richards, I think. I don't know if you heard about him, but the NHL had him as like
Oh,
some
this is interesting.
ambassador. Oh, Jim Carrey and Keanu Reeves. Yeah, Keanu
I
Reeves
don't
would
know
be
about Keanu
awesome.
Reeves with hockey though. I know Jim Carrey. I think he's a Leafs fan. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Mike
but
Myers would be cool.
oh
Mike
yeah,
Myers is
Mike
a big
Myers, that
Leafs fan.
horrible movie, The Love Guru. Just imagine
Oh
bringing that whole
God,
cast to the game in Toronto, that All Star game.
Justin Timberlake, Jessica Alba. That'd be awesome.
Oh my god, and John Oliver.
That's right. But yeah, I think going back to what I said, I think like there's this I think he's a TikToker. I think his name's Josh Richards, and I remember the NHL like hired him to be like some kind of like brand ambassador, and I think like there was a lot of outrage for some reason. I don't know why, but um, a guy like that, he's Canadian, he's from Toronto, I think as well. So having a guy like people like that, having like high, yeah, I don't know about like like big people like that are you know like popular with young people, I guess you can say, just popular in the US as well. Get them, get their butts to the All-Star weekend, get them to market the crap out of it. And that's how you grow. That's part of it. That's part of how you grow the game, right? Like how you really grow the game. Other aspects are like stop these regional blackouts that they do for the games, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, that's it. Get these big names to Toronto, the maybe Canadian celebrities and all that, and just do it. Just do it, NHL. I'm serious, man. Like Toronto, it's a good opportunity to really grow the game with that All-Star weekend, and better not fumble the bag this time.
Oh, this is an interesting comment from Montreal MUFC.
Yep. Can't. Oh yeah, that's right. Youngblood. Yeah, he
I
was
don't
in
think I've
that.
seen Youngblood yet. I have
I
to
think
watch
he
that.
actually I think he actually played hockey growing up for like a year or two. So from what I heard.
Oh, if you
I
have him
know
take a
Avril
skills
Lavigne.
shot, that would be pretty cool. If you have some of the celebrities involved taking skill shots, like I
That'd
really
be
like that they
awesome.
got the also like they. I was really happy that they got the women to the All Star game, but I want
Yeah.
to see more diversity at the All Star game. I want to have them be more have more of the women players there and show like that
Hmm.
show that also the women are are on the same stage as the men. Like because I remember in 2020, like that they had the women's final game where they had Canada and US in the shootout. I
Hmm.
also want to see more of that now that I think about it.
Yeah, man. I think even like again, Sarah Nurse was at the All
That
Star
was a
thing,
nice
and
goal.
yeah, it was a pretty sick goal, right? And having public figures like that is again, it's great for the game, right? And obviously, she's a great ambassador for hockey, and she's also a very very good player too. Like it's good to have people like that in the game and to help grow the game, right? So hopefully they keep her involved, in the NHL world, in the hockey world, or the hockey community, and all those ways. So we'll see how that goes next year. Hopefully the NHL just doesn't fumble the bag with the All-Star game weekend like they did this year. So just we'll see.
Fingers crossed for Toronto 2024. Fingers
Now
crossed.
hopefully it's better. I want to oh man, I want to get tickets to that. I might have some connections for that, but we'll see when the time comes. I wanted to switch gears back to like the Habs a little bit. I saw I don't know if I mean I think some people saw, but Arbor Jacki unfortunately got hurt yesterday in a fight with Desharnais on Edmonton. Desharnais, that sounds very familiar to most Have
No
fans, but not
relation though.
No relation to David Desharnais, who's a longtime Hab. But yeah, it seemed like it might be his shoulder or his wrist or something for Arbor with that. It was a solid fight. I saw the highlights after. Man, like that's tough, man. He's been playing so good, and just everything seems to be clicking with him, and just it sucks to see what happened to him. But I hope he gets well soon, and hopefully it's not an injury for too long. But you never know with like the way our season's going. A lot of the guys, like the medical staff's being like pretty safe with the players, saying just take as much time as you need to heal, and at the same time, I think that's the right approach.
I agree, and also I saw an interesting stat today that apparently I think Andrew Berkshire posted it that the Habs have this is the second season in a row that the Habs have lost the most man games in the NHL. Like everyone on this team is just injured, but I like that they're like it's like you said, like I like that the medical staff is just giving all the players the time they need to heal because that's what's most important right now with the season, is letting everyone heal and then just get ready for next year and have a good summer off.
Yeah, like my whole perspective on that is like, why would you rush a player back from an injury when you're not making the playoffs? Why affect, potentially a decline in their performance going forward to rush them back, just, to play, I'm not gonna say meaningless hockey, but like you're not making the playoffs. Like, why are you gonna rush a player to come back? Like I mean, you don't really want to do it even if you're in a playoff push, but I think teams feel a little bit more obligated to do that because you're in a playoff postseason push, whenever you want to call it, and a lot of them you want to you want to push for the playoffs, right? Like an example was like when Erik Karlson, when he got that Achilles injury like 10 years ago, right? Like Achilles injury takes like a full year to heal. Like I said, I think I said this on the last episode. Like I knew a guy that tore both his Achilles like on both his legs like 2 years in a row, and it took him like literally a year to recover. And like after the second one, I didn't see him play hockey anymore. But um, yeah, man, like and he came back in like 3-4 months, right? Like in Ottawa, it was like they were still kind of like a playoff contender at the time, right? And they just had an early exit, so it's like you rushed an injury of this poor guy, and just to get bounced in like the first or second round. Like, come on, man. Like, like I think
I
it's
think it was
good
the
now to
third round
see.
that season.
What's that? Sorry.
That season was the third round for the Sens.
Oh, for 2013, really?
Oh, 2013. Oh, you mean? Okay, I thought
Yeah.
you were referring to 2017.
No. 2017, yeah, that was a great playoff run. But 2013, no, I think it was 2013. I think it was the first or second round they got bounced, right? And it's like I like that the approach that a lot of teams have now is let the guys heal, as long as they can, right? Like because it's their well being at the end of the day, right? It's like the sport is the sport, but if they can't have a decent quality of life outside of the rink, right, then it's just not good. So
Yeah, I agree. Because I want to add to that and say, like, also, I'm a big soccer fan as well. In soccer, whenever anyone gets injured, you won't see players take painkillers to play in a Champions League match or a cup game or play a game just to continue, unless like you're Samuel Umtiti, and he played through a big injury in a 2018 World Cup run for France, and ever since that run, he had a great World Cup, but he just never was the same. And then I think Ronaldo in 2014, I heard, played through like a minor injury, but he never could run the same as well. And then Fernando Torres played through a minor injury in 2010 when they won the World Cup Spain, and he was never 100% the player that he was before. So I like, it's one of those things. Like I find that it's like you said, like players should be able to have a good life outside of the sport that they play. And it's such a shame, like seeing stories like Joe Murphy. I'm sure you probably heard, but he's been homeless because he hasn't been able to adapt to his life after hockey without the support he needs.
yeah,
And I'm just hoping, like, it just sucks to see what happens with some of these athletes who play through these injuries. Like I just hope that there's more of a future in letting the players heal up their injuries.
yeah, man. Like going back to Joe Murphy, like that's a good point you made. And I remember reading up more about the Joe Murphy story, and apparently he had a lot of CTE from like concussions and fights and stuff when he played. So it kind of affected his a lot of things, right? So it's, it sucks to see. And, I remember seeing like a video of them talking about how he's homeless now, and like they interviewed him on the streets, and it's like, man, like that's such a like, I don't want to mean to say this in a bad way, but like such a fall from grace, like it's just, you hate, like, doesn't matter like who that is, you just hate to see that happen to, like, not just a hockey player, just a human being, right? Like it's just such a terrible way, it's just, it tells you like, if you don't have the right people in your corner, most times, like you're not going to end up, more than likely you're going to end up in some tough spots, right? So I mean, obviously it seemed like he didn't really have the right people in his corner that were trying to maybe looking after him, and now he's in this tough situation, right? So
Yeah, and also I think for hockey as a whole, I think I don't know if there is now, but I think there is actually now. I think there's more of a program for when players retire if they ever need help. They'll be covered by the program if, like, with injuries and all that, but I think it's like we said, like it's something that I think the NHL needs to do better with, and just if players are injured, just let them heal up and get back to 100%.
mhm. I think the NHL does have to do better with that too. Like I know, like the NFL, it's still to this day catches a lot of heat for that too, like how they, the way they treat the players in that aspect. But I think the NHL, it kind of changed when in 2011, when Belak, Bugard, and Ripon passed away, very tragically and sudden. I think that's when the course started to change a little bit, because people saw. I think people, like fans, and people on the outside saw, a different perspective of like the player, and how, you know like mental health aspect, and like take like the hits to the head and the CTE and things like that. A lot of that 2011, I think, might have been the year that changed hockey forever. I don't know if everyone maybe agrees with me on that. Let me know what you think in the comments there. But obviously with the Sidney Crosby injury, and then obviously Belak, Bugard, and Ripon, it really changed. It gave people more awareness, I'm going to say, towards concussions and CTE, and mental health even as well. And I think that's when things started changing. I think that was obviously a lot of tragedy that year, and but like it did help a lot of people going forward. And I think the league took a big step into making better decisions that way.
I agree. I think I agree with that point about 2011, because I remember when I heard those stories, I was pretty young at the time. I think I was like 9 or 10 years old around that time, and I was just in complete shock to yeah, I was just in complete shock to hear all those stories. And then I remember in 2020, W5 put up a very good story on NHL players and injuries they deal with. And you remember Zenon Konopka?
Yep.
I remember he was more of an enforcer, but like he had issues, I think, walking in his own house.
Oh my
And
god.
I thought, like, that is like just really tough to see. Like, like someone who's like a professional athlete just having issues walking in his own house. And then Kyle Quincy, I think he said some stuff that in the documentary which did not look very good on the Grand Rapids organization. I remember he said some stuff about one of his injuries. He said that I think he said he got a knee injury, and then he was pretty much told to get back out there and play by the Grand Rapids trainers. And the trainer, and he's
Wow.
like, "Why I'm not in a playing condition?" They said, "Yeah, well, we make a bonus if you go out and play."
No
And apparently,
way.
The Grand Rapids wrote a statement denying it in the documentary. But considering what happened or what's happened in the past with hockey, I feel like I believe Kyle Quincy more than I believe the Grand Rapids organization in that situation.
Yeah, like they're just covering their ass in that situation, right? Like a player wouldn't just come out like that and make that's a serious allegation, right? I don't think a player would make a serious allegation like that without any kind of proof behind it, right? So yeah, the Griffins were definitely just trying to cover their asses on that one, and it's the unfortunate part there. That's the way it is, though. Everyone has just got to cover their ass sometimes in those situations, and like it is what it is, right? But it's not right, but that's the way the world is, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a really tough thing. Like, also, Yeah, like that's I find like that's the way the NHL operates, and I think like that aspect of it also really needs to change very soon.
Yeah, well, I think the only way that like anything changes more drastically in the next little while is if Bettman leaves. It's the only way.
Yeah, Bettman and
Only way.
Fear. Well, good
Yeah.
thing Fear's left, but believe me, I
Thank
was ready to
God.
have I pretty much had a party for Fear leaving, but
Yeah.
Bettman, the day that happens, I
Oh.
I don't even know how I'm gonna react. Like I'm probably gonna go crazier than I would if the Habs won the Stanley Cup. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, dude, I think it doesn't matter what team you like. I think everyone in hockey would come together and just celebrate because fuck that guy. I'm sorry, but he's an asshole. Pardon my language, but like I'm sorry, guy. He's just oh god, just as the way when he talks just bothers me. Ugh, just makes my
He's
skin
so
crawl, man.
arrogant, and he doesn't like listen to the
Exactly.
fans. Like
Oh, he
like
doesn't
the fans,
care.
we're the ones funding the entire league, pretty much. Like us paying
Canadian
money
fans.
to go to Canadian fans, especially like we're paying money to go to games, and we're buying jerseys, and he just I find disrespects a lot of the Canadian markets, and he
Yep.
just doesn't understand like a lot of the history of hockey,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really big on fixing systemic issues inside hockey. Like he's don't get me wrong, he's good at marketing the game. Like he got his ESPN deals, but ESPN hasn't been broadcasting our games as much as I thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also like there
Viewership's
was
down.
viewership's down, and I think like when it comes to viewership, sometimes I still sometimes wonder myself like if it's just down like with Hockey Night in Canada or if it's just done with ESPN and all those different channels or just as a total, because with Hockey Night
Yeah.
in Canada, like I understand why some people are not are tuning away more often from it, because I find they spend like I've said this before and I'll say it again, they spend way too much time talking about the Leafs more than anything.
Yep.
And
It's true.
yeah, and Gary Bettman, I think like the whole thing with him is he's just doesn't understand the way things work nowadays in terms of hockey. And like him and Rob Manfred both just need to leave. Like
Oh
I'll say it
God.
right
Yeah.
now. Him and
Oh.
Manfred are probably like the two most unpopular commissioners in all of North American sports.
Yeah, man. It's just like it's bad. I mean, I like I said, the only way things really change is if he leaves the NHL. They just need overall culture change. Um, I mean, it's great that they got the ESPN contract, but the games are on ESPN Plus, which is like the premium. Excuse me, the premium content channel that you have to pay for. It's not even on the main ESPN channel, and it's not even like they barely put like I follow ESPN on like Instagram and stuff. They barely post about hockey. It's like how do you expect the game to grow when you're barely covering it, right? It's a joke actually. Like I mean, it's great that like PK Subban is like doing work with ESPN, but like guys like an ambassador like him is great to have for that role and like what he's doing, but like you need some more you need to broadcast that more nationally, like like look at the NBA, how they're always like front page of like ESPN every night, like even NFL, NCAA, like those sports are always top page, like front page sports for like ESPN. I'm not saying that the NHL is going to be like that, but you got to you got to try to at least put it in there somewhere. Like I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's just a shame to see like how the viewership's down. I mean, last year apparently the viewership was up like a certain amount of percent, but I don't know how truthful that was. But this year it's down again, so it's like they got like you gotta think like something's got to give here, right? They got to have marketing meetings. These guys, I'd be surprised if they do. They seems like they don't really have it, but they got to have meetings in there and be like, okay, why is our viewership down right now, guys? Like, look at these stats, or what's going on? What can we do to improve? But doesn't seem like they run like that, unfortunately, because it's just again so many it's just embarrassing. Like the NHL, like hockey is truly. I've said this to so many people. Hockey is truly the best sport in the world. It's just the NHL is just so poorly run and like so poorly marketed that it's just like they're just just not doing any. They're not doing themselves any favors. And it's like the biggest league in the like for the sport, and it's not even marketed properly. It's quite a shame.
I agree. And this comment right here from Montreal MUFC, you're going to want to see this.
0 Habs games on ESPN this season.
And we're literally the New York Yankees of the NHL, pretty much. Like, we're the New York Yankees. Yeah. Like, we're the original team.
Yeah, it's pathetic, man. Like the NHL, like just pathetic. I don't know what else to say. It's I'm speechless. Like I saw the report last week about that and how their viewership's down, and I'm like, I'm not surprised because you again, like I said earlier in the show about the regional blackouts. Like, how can you expect to grow the game when, you know, I'm a Habs fan in Southern Ontario, and I can't even watch most of the games on national TV. I have to find other ways to watch the games. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's pathetic. Like, it's frustrating. It's asinine if you ask me. It's Bush League. I can go on with words. It's ridiculous. And I've been for almost 10 years. It's been like this since they got the new TV deal with Rogers and all that. It's just like, how do you expect to grow your base like that? Like, how are you supposed to grow your fan base? Sorry, like that. It's just, it gets me so mad. I gotta cool off.
Yeah. This is something I want. Also, I think internationally the game can grow more, and this is something I've been thinking about for some time. But I'm gonna throw you a bit on the spot here.
Sure.
I find more international tournaments would help increase the popularity of hockey. Something I want to see one day is a Euro Cup of hockey. I want to get your thoughts because I love it.
When you mean European Cup of hockey, do you mean like the like the European nations or just like the leagues? Like you know, for example, like the SHL,
like the countries, the countries.
Oh, that'd be I'm all for it. Yeah, obviously because again, the Canada and US, it's a given to have like those, you know, the viewership, right, for a tournament like that. But like, you know, growing it in Europe would be great. I mean, I know there's a lot of European nations that are very big into hockey, like Finland, you know, Czech Republic, Slovakia. Germany's actually starting to become pretty big hockey. Surprisingly, I mean, they've developed quite a few good NHLers. Like you got Moritz Seider and Draisaitl, you know, guys like that are like NHL stars, right? And
Stützle now.
Oh yeah, I hate Stützle, but man, he's such a good player. Fuck, hate that guy. He's such an asshole, but he's so good.
Son.
Yeah, man. Timmy Stu, I think they call him there, but
they called him Jimmy Stu initially, but now they call him Timmy Stu.
Yeah, Jimmy Stu. That's so weird. Jimmy. Yeah, man. But no, I'm all with you on that, dude, because that'd be a great way to grow it internationally. You know, I remember, there's a friend of mine actually that I play hockey with, and he was telling me that in I think last September or October, he was going to go play hockey in Spain to try. It was like this, like it was like they were going to start a league in Spain to try and grow
Barcelona
the game.
Has a hockey team. Let that soak in.
Oh yeah, that's freaking
Barcelona
sick. It's probably
HC.
that league. Yeah, it's probably that league he was going to play in, right? He was actually going to go down there and play. He's a goalie, and he was going to go down there and play. And I'm like, dude, that would be like, I would love to do that, right? But you know, to try to grow the game down there, right? And those are good opportunities. You go and do stuff like that, and you build leagues there, even if they're not big leagues. You know, maybe not really high, very low funding, maybe to start, but you gotta try things, right? If you want to grow the game more internationally, like it's the way to do it, man. You just pick non-traditional hockey countries or markets and see if it can work. You know.
Yeah, I agree. And also, this also might sound weird now that we talk about Euro Cup. Man, what about an American Cup of like North America and South America? I know it would be Canada, US in the finals all the time, but I think that would also be pretty fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, like South America would be hard though because like they don't really have like it's all warmer countries, right? And
yeah, they don't have ice there. They probably don't even know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the thing why I think hockey has trouble growing internationally, because again, there's a lot of parts of the world that are just extremely warm climates, right? And they're it's hard to, if they don't have ice, right? It's kind of hard to, play the game there, right? Or there's been a lot of players that, are born in, countries that aren't really hockey countries, but they come to Canada or US, right? And they kind of start their life there. Like those are good stories too. And those are good ways to grow the game in those countries too, if they have a star player that, does that, right? So there's potential. That's what I mean. Like any sport that's popular in multiple countries or continents, even whatever you name it, there's lots of potential to grow and market it. But you just got the NHL just has to do the work, and the IIHF has to just do the work and try and just grow. That's it. That's it. Create more
Yeah.
fans. That's it.
And actually, now that we're on this international hockey track, I wanted to touch on what Team Canada would have looked like at the Olympics in more of a perfect world, since we're in that since we're in that 1 year anniversary. So Adrian and I both made teams, and whose team do you want to look at first? Because I think both of our teams are pretty good.
Yeah, we'll go with yours first, Damon. I want to see yours again. Huberdeau.
Actually, I'm just going to get rid of that banner here so you can see my backups.
No worries. Huberdeau, McDavid, Stone, Marchand, Crosby, Bergeron, Marner, McKinnon. Wow, yeah, that's pretty good. Marner, McKinnon, Stamkos, Point, O'Reilly, Couture. Oh yeah, I forgot about Sean Couturier. Yeah, he's amazing. Barzell, Scheifele, Shabbat, McCarr, Nurse, Hamilton. That's a good team. That's a good freaking team.
Yeah, I just went for more I tried to get some scoring in the top six, and then for the bottom six of the fours, I went for more versatility to try to build a team that's hard to play against, and teams that can and the fourth line especially as a line that can match up against other countries' top lines to shut them down. And then I went for a good versatility with the defensemen. Like Shabbat, McCarr, Nurse, and Hamilton are all pretty offensively minded, but still play good two-way games. And then Pietrangelo, Theodore, and Riley Neckblad are also really good two-way defensemen as well. Then Price, in a world where he's not injured, would easily be on this team. Then Binnington and Hart. But if Binnington doesn't lose his marbles, he would be good at the Olympics.
Oh God, yeah, Jordan Binnington, he's a psycho. But
yeah, his coach said he should tend the goal more often than fighting people.
Yeah, I remember when Craig Berube said that, I was like, yeah, I'm like thinking, Benner, he's sending you a message, dude. You gotta cool it, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to look at your fourth line here though. Point, O'Reilly, Couture. That's like the ultimate shutdown line. I think any team, doesn't even matter, like Russia's top line or like USA's top line would have a lot of trouble scoring with these guys on the ice. Oh my word, man. That's like the dream shutdown line for some like NHL coaches for sure. They'd like foam at the mouth at a shutdown line like that.
Yeah. They'd be drooling all over. Awesome. And also O'Reilly, I can't believe is going to be on the market soon.
Yeah, man. Looking back at that trade, I remember like a year after that trade when they traded him to the Blues, I was like, wow, the Blues won this trade, like O'Reilly just won the Conn Smythe and, the best two-way player in the league at the time and like all the Conn Smythe winner, you name it, right? Like his name was on everything. And I was like, wow, like this is unreal. It's a great story, right? And, at the time it seemed like, the Blues didn't really give up a lot for him, but looking back at it 5 years later, and like Tage Thompson is that guy, like it and they gave it didn't seem like a lot at the time, right? But man, like wow, that trade definitely took a complete 360 in Buffalo's favor.
Yeah, and also that asset management by Buffalo's actually been pretty good, and it's been getting better in recent years. Mm-hmm. And I still can't believe that O'Reilly pretty much turned into Tage Thompson, and I'm trying to remember the defenseman's first name, but Johnson, who's looking like he's going to be an NHL player. And I want to look at your team here now. Now, I love this first line: Marchand, McDavid, McKinnon. Now, this line can score at will and get under your nose all at the same time.
Oh God, dude, yeah. I was thinking like that top line because you just have speed and then you have sandpaper. Like it's just the perfect mix, right? And I think I've like Steven Stamkos going to my second line, Marner, Crosby, Stamkos. Marner is like probably one of the best playmakers in the league, right? He's a great player. Like even though he's a Leaf, right? You got to give credit where it's due. Crosby's, is Crosby, right? He's obviously he will be centering that second line. And I could just see, Marner and Stamkos, being, like Marner just feeding Stamkos the puck, like I could just see that being a thing, right? Or even Crosby too, right? Like I just on, I've always even seen Stamkos just being on the wing if he played for Team Canada because they already have so much center depth, and it would be a cool thing to see. Um, that third line too. You got the Quebec connection of Huberdeau and Bergeron. I think that would be pretty awesome too. Obviously, Bergeron and Stone, very defensively responsible players who could score. Um, Barzal, Point, Giroux, ton of speed. And then I threw Tavares in there as like an extra forward, as like, a reserve or a healthy scratch or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, my defense, Shabbat Makar, Josh Morrissey's a really underrated good defenseman. He's one of the
I
best guys in
agree.
the league this year. Holy
This season,
smokes.
he's on fire.
Oh man, he's unbelievable. Um, Dougie Hamilton's still like, I mean, he kind of had a subpar season last year, but this year I looked at his numbers and seems to be back in form. Um, I just love Brent Burns. Like he's still playing great for his age. And if it was like in a smaller ice surface, I think he'd do great in the Olympics still. Drew Doughty I threw in there as a like a seventh defenseman. I've always loved Drew Doughty. He's still playing pretty decent. I know he plays hard, right? He's always played hard, so I think he's a little bit of decline on his body, over the past few years, but still decent. Still a good defenseman. Still logs up a lot of minutes for the Kings, and just going to Aaron Ekblad there. Ekblad's such a good defenseman. It's just again, injury history it just sucks, man. He's so good when he's healthy. Such a responsible defenseman in his own end, and he's got a good transition game. It's just staying healthy is his only issue. Yeah, I honestly looking back at it, I made this team the other day, and I was like, I mean, damn, this would absolutely win a gold medal. Like no kidding. And the goaltending, we've talked about this. Like Canada's goaltending isn't as good as it used to be when we'd have like Brodeur and Luongo back in the day, or even Carey Price. Carey Price seems like his career's nearing an end, right? So, yeah, I mean Carter Hart's a good goalie. I just think Philly's wasting his career away.
Philly
Jordan
needs to
Binnington.
rebuild badly.
Agreed. Totally agreed, man. They need a culture change and just completely start from scratch, tear it apart. Carter Hart should, I don't know, man. I feel bad for him. He's a great goalie. It's just Philly's just wasting his career. Jordan Binnington, don't really like the guy, but put him as a backup. And then maybe Tristan Jarry. Tristan Jarry's a good goalie. He'd be a good third string guy. You can maybe argue, I just thought of this now, maybe Marc-Andre Fleury, but Marc-Andre Fleury's kind of old. I mean, he's still great, but he's still an older player, right? So you don't know with that one.
Yeah, I was also going to say I think Kemper could also be a good third string option as well. But I know he's getting a bit older. He's in his early 30s, but Kemper I think is someone who's pretty underrated.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about Kemper. He's good too. Yeah, you can add him too. Yeah, maybe throw Binnington out there and put Kemper as the backup.
Yeah.
Freaking Jordan Binnington. He's got like anger management issues or something. I don't know what's wrong with that guy. Every time I would love to play like, oh man, I've played goalies like in beer league that are just like him. You just love fucking with those guys, man. Like they're just getting in their grills and like getting in their face in front of the net. Like it's just so fun to just mess around with and get them off their game.
Yeah, you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see his punishment be this. He has to wear one of the SDPN shirts that Steve Dangle says, if you're a goaltender, tend the goal.
If you're a goaltender, tend the goal.
I'd love to see him wear one of those shirts.
He should wear that on his like, he should wear a jersey or something like
either
that.
On the jersey or when you have to take off his jersey at the end of the season for the season ticket holders and they give like the autographed jerseys away. You should be wearing a shirt under that says, if you're a goalie, tend the goal.
He kind of like,
funny.
Yeah, that would be awesome, man. That guy gives me some serious like Billy Smith or like Ron Hextall vibes, man. I don't know what it is about that guy. He's just man, he just loses his marbles, man. Even like Mike Smith, the same kind of guy. Like both of them are like very volatile, and it's just like why? I don't understand. Goalies are a different breed, that's for sure. You
Yeah.
gotta have
Mike
a
Weaver said it when he was on the show. He said that Carey Price was the most normal goalie he's met.
yep, it's true, and it's just again, I play hockey too, and I've played with a lot of goalies, and a lot of them are very interesting to say the least, right? They're you gotta have a certain personality to be a goalie. I find like again, Carey Price is like so calm and like to himself and stuff. But like man, I've played with and met some really crazy goalies, man. You got to be a little bit on the edge if you're gonna put on all that equipment and have pucks coming at you like 100 miles an hour. You got to be a little bit crazy to do a job like that.
Yeah. I just want to switch gears a bit because a certain player who's been drawing a lot of attention recently in NHL news, who goes by the name of Patrick Kane. And
Yeah,
there's a whole situation now with him where he's upset that Tarasenko got traded from the Blues over to the Rangers, and he's not really happy about that. And it just came out recently that he had a hip injury that he's been playing for about the last 3 seasons, and he was asked about it by a reporter, and he said to the reporter, he didn't deny that he had it, but he said it's not really affecting my play. So, do you think he gets traded? Because I think it's a really weird situation where we're not fully in the know on it, but we do know that we do know there's some doubt around it, which I just think is really interesting.
yeah, that's a good question. Like with him being traded, I think it could still be a possibility. Um, but yeah, I just again, will teams? I know obviously Chicago's asking price would probably be very high for him. Would teams be willing to give up those kind of assets mid-season though? That's the real question I find. I have a feeling that he maybe signs like Chicago signs him to a 1-year deal. Maybe like you said, he has the hip injury and all that. Or he's been playing with it, sorry. Maybe, maybe it's still aggravating him. They keep him for maybe another year and try to trade him next year. But again, like that's even a risk too, right? Because then he's like another year older. It's tough, man. Like the NHL, I find GMs are not like in the NBA, where the NBA the GMs will give like freaking 4 first rounders for like Kevin Durant. Like that would never happen in the NHL, right? Like GMs are very I guess the word is frugal, I guess, if I'm using that word properly. They're
I
very
haven't heard the word frugal before, so
I think that's oh my god, I feel like an idiot now. But if anyone could correct me maybe in the comment section, but just very like I don't know, like just very I guess have a conservative approach about it. They don't want to give up too much for midseason assets, and I just don't know, man. Like I think Patrick Kane would be again, obviously he's a fantastic asset like on any team, and still for his age, right? Like he's still a good player. He's still one of the good players in the league. It's just I don't know, man. It's just the asking price. A lot of teams don't want to give up a lot of assets for these players, right? And um, I personally, what I would love to see happen to Kane, um, maybe he gets traded. I don't know which team. Maybe at the deadline as a rental, just straight up rental, like not going to resign him. And then in the offseason, he goes and signs in Buffalo. That would I think he's a free agent this offseason, but I would love to see him go to Buffalo like at some point in his career. That would be amazing.
I think that would be nice to see happen one time. But as I'm sure you guys see, I'm sharing screen right now, and I have Cap Friendly up. I think he's going to go to Carolina. That's my hot take right now because of Pacioretty's injury. That clears
Oh
up
yeah,
$7 million on
right.
the cap for Carolina. And I do, and I think that Kyle Davidson. I think he doesn't want to risk just having Patrick Kane in losing him for nothing, pretty much, or
Mhm.
just have. Or I think this is a situation where Kyle Davidson wants to play his cards right and gets whatever value he can, pretty much, depending on the whole situation. It's like we don't know. I'm sure we all know we're not in the full know of everything. We don't know like the extent to all of his injuries and all that, but with Patrick's injury, I think he would make sense for Carolina. And I was even thinking, I know this may be a bit more of a difficult situation. I was thinking Vegas as well, but Vegas doesn't have as much cap space to take him on unless Vegas moves out a bigger contract. And I remembered I saw Gravitate put out an interesting mock trade, and he had pretty much Alec Martinez's contract as the big contract that left to bring in Patrick Kane. So overall, I think that those are the top two destinations in my mind for Patrick Kane. Like I think he will get traded if he's able to play through it, but we're not 100% in the know.
Yeah, it's a tough situation though. I think if you're Kyle Davidson, you kind of just you at this point you maybe have to cut your losses a little bit and just try to get you have to get what you can for him. Thank you, Jordan, by the way. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I was using the right vocabulary and I didn't sound like an idiot. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, John, that's a good point too. I was gonna bring up Taze. I could see Taze. Taze is definitely gone too. I think he'll probably go for like a second or third rounder. He's, a good second line center at this point in his career. He's regressed a lot, but yeah, seeing him go to Winnipeg would be cool. I think I can see a team like Winnipeg, or even a team like Boston. That we were talking about Boston maybe going for Bo Horvat when that happened. Excuse me, and maybe seeing him go, Bo Horvat to Boston, but obviously that's not going to happen now. So I think Taze would be a good fit for the Bruins on like their second line or third line maybe, but I think Boston or Winnipeg are good fits. That's a good scenario there.
I have the feeling Boston's going to make a splash at the deadline. I find Boston always gets the guy at the deadline, whoever the big guy is. I remember Hampus Lindholm was one of the big guys at the deadline last year. They acquired him and they signed him to a contract that I think will age horribly. And then they also got Taylor Hall just like literally I think at 12 o'clock on deadline day. When I say 12 o'clock, I mean like 12 a.m. like the morning pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Boston's going to probably be making some moves, but I have a hot take I'm going to throw at you right now. I think John Klingberg might go to Boston to help out with that defensive core there.
Ooh, yeah, maybe he's on a he'll be a rental, right? Because I'm pretty sure he's on a 1-year deal with Anaheim, if I'm correct. So
yeah, he's a rental.
Yeah, he's gonna be a straight up rental. I've mentioned this I think in almost every episode that we've done, but again, Boston's in a win now situation, right? Because of their situation with Pastrnak, potentially leaving, and Bergeron and Krejci are probably going to retire at the end of the year, right? So they gotta try and make that go for that home run swing and try to get that big piece at the deadline. They're in a very I don't know about desperate, but they're in a really aggressive situation right now.
Yeah, and also Jordan brought up something earlier I wanted to touch on since we're on the trade deadline topic here. How many trades do you think the Canadiens will be able to make this trade deadline? Because I think there's maybe about like 4 or 5 realistically.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I can see certain players, I could see maybe a Jonathan Drouin trade happening.
I think Drouin for a third probably is my bet.
He's playing good. He's moving the puck really well. Like he's showing like he's got some confidence back in his game. I was from the beginning, from 2017 till now, I've been a big Drouin supporter, fan, and it just sucks what's happened, with his time in Montreal. And maybe if he's watching this, if not, but whatever happens, if he stays in Montreal or he goes elsewhere, we wish him, nothing but the best, right? It was just a tough situation for him, and again, just a guy with his skill set should not be slept on, So if he stays in Montreal or goes elsewhere, I hope he really makes a push for the cup with another team if that's a possibility, and hope he just goes ham.
I hope so too. I've been a supporter of his, but I just think things in Montreal just haven't worked out as a whole. Because there's been a lot of things on his end, his injuries just haven't worked out, and also I think the coaching is been more old school when he's been here. It just has things just haven't had or things just haven't been things just
panned out.
Like that. Yeah. Things just haven't panned out the way we hoped. And
Yeah.
then Monahan, there's still no transparency around that situation because we were said,
Mhm.
Hab said last week we'll have an update, and then he was in a walking boot last week. So I don't know if we'll be able to deal him. I ideally would like to get another first round pick. But if we are not able to, I'd love to re-sign Sean Monahan and keep him here for the next little bit because he's proven to be a good number 2C, and him and Suzuki have been monsters together. And I think the big reason why Suzuki's production has dropped the second half of the season is because there's been no Sean Monahan on that second line, and teams only have to really contain that one big threat, which is that top line.
Yep. Totally agree with you, man. I would, I would love to see, I don't know what his health is like, to be honest. But I hope he's okay. First off, I know he's been gone since December, and like you said, he's been in a walking boot for a while, and like I hope I hope they keep him. Honestly, like I know a lot of fans are saying, yeah, trade him for a first round pick, but like he's really solidified himself as like again like a great 2C on this team, right? And just showing how much value he holds, right? And he's had like like back-to-back hip surgeries, but like the guy can still play. Still has a lot of upside, and he's only he's 20, he's gonna be 29 this year, right? He's still fairly young, like and a guy with his defensive awareness, and he can put the puck in the net too, right? It's hard to find guys like that, so hopefully they keep him, but whatever happens, right? You got to let fate decide sometimes.
Yeah. And I was going to say Dadonov, I think, is also probably going to get dealt at this deadline. I know he's really picked up his game recently throughout January and February. And I think we could probably train him at a 50% retention. I was going to say maybe to a team like Carolina that is missing a team like Pat Trading, he could probably be a healthy scratch. Dadonov for a playoff run or a good fourth line guy. And then I was also going to say Joel Edmondson. I know George Larocque has a lot of opinions on Edmondson. I don't know if you saw him on Marinero show. He was saying that Edmondson's not going to get traded, he thinks, because of his injury history. But right now, there's reports coming out that the Oilers and the Kings, because of Marc Bergevin, of course, are looking at Edmonton for playoff hockey.
Yeah,
And I
I
find
mean,
that to me plays his best
yeah,
hockey.
agreed, man. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, 2019 he won the cup with the Blues, and 2021 went to the finals with Montreal, right? And he was a monster in both of those playoff runs. And yeah, he played. I think he just lays it all on the line. Like, I mean, he does all the time. He's a great, heart and soul player. Um, but he just lays it all on the line, especially in the playoffs, right? He knows what it takes to win. Being on a team that's been to the Stanley Cup Finals, and then um, winning the cup, sorry, and then being, in the cup finals 2 years later, right? And guy's a great leader. I think he'd be a good fit for a young team like the Kings, or even like a team like Edmonton that needs help on the back end, right? I think either of those would be a good fit.
Yeah, and also speaking of Edmonton and trade rumors, so there's
Mhm.
reports that they're in on Erik Karlson right now, which I have my opinions on, but I'll just put those aside. And if they're unable to get Erik Karlson, they're also looking at Shayne Gostisbhere. I want to get your thoughts.
Shayne Gostisbhere. I haven't heard that name in a while, man. Holy. Um, yeah, I mean, Shayne Gostisbhere would be a good depth move, right? Um, I mean, Erik Karlson is just playing Erik Karlson from like 2013. He's like playing at that level again, and I've always been an Erik Karlson fan, and I'm like happy he's back on track like that. You love to see that stuff, right? So, the asking price is going to be very, very high for a guy like Erik Karlson. I think San Jose is asking for like multiple picks and prospects. I mean, for what you're getting out of him right now, like that's it's pretty fair value, I'd say. Like he's looking like the Erik Karlson again, like from 10 years ago. It's crazy. Like he's unreal. I mean, his contract's big. That's one thing that, again, you'd have to think San Jose has to retain some salary on that.
Yeah, apparently they're going to
Um,
retain 18%.
oh, okay. Hey, they gotta, you're trying to move a big contract like that. You got to retain, you got to at least expect it, right? So, that would be, yeah, I think he would be a good fit in Edmonton, and you could run their power play. And, um, you know, it, it, what I think he just, whatever happens, I think either, it's Ottawa or sorry, oh my God, Ottawa. It's Edmonton or it's someone else, he'd be a great asset still. And I think, again, the fact that he's playing at the level he was, even early on in his career is quite remarkable. And again, you just love to see it for a guy like him. He's just you can just tell he's like such a genuine, like good-hearted person, like us, like separate him from the player, like, just as a person, you can tell he's just a good guy. And you just love to see him thriving again. And his interviews with Sean McKenzie are always funny. Whenever they see each other, they always like chirp each other. And oh man, it's great stuff. Erik Karlson's a personality.
I like that Erik Karlsson has personality. Like, it's something I find you don't see as much in hockey players as much as you'd like to see. And also, I was going to say this about going back to the salary retention with Erik Karlsson's contract. I was thinking about this for some time. If the Oilers want to make that trade, I think that contract might be good for the next 2 or 3 seasons. But towards the end of it, and if he's still making that money at that retention, I was thinking, do you think a third team could get involved? Let's just say the Arizona Coyotes give up, maybe get some picks or assets just to retain that contract even more, and then lessen the salary that the Edmonton Oilers will have to take on. And do you think that's not a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, down the road, if he's like older and kind of like, at the end of the road in his career, yeah, you can probably see, again, Arizona seems like that team that just, picks up all the the bad contracts off the other teams' hands, right? And all the LTIR contracts. It's like they seem to be the team that tends to do that. So, hey, maybe if Arizona's still around, even in the league, by the time that contract is done, you can see Erik Karlsson maybe going there, and just as it could be as a salary dump. But I think he's like 31 or 32, so that's it's again great to see that he's just playing that great hockey again. And again, wherever he goes, he'd be a tremendous asset for that team.
Yeah, also well said. I also want to touch on Shayne Gostisbhere a bit more, because I feel like he's had a bit more of a resurgence in Arizona the more I've watched him play. Because in Philadelphia, towards the later stage of his career in Philadelphia, he was getting scratched in playoff games and a lot of regular season games as well. But then, ever since he left, I felt like I don't want to say reinvented, because I think he's just played hockey that we've always known he's capable of, but he's just been playing it a bit more free there. So do you think that Shayne Gostisbhere can get a good long-term contract wherever he gets traded to? Because I have the feeling that he's probably going to sign somewhere long-term when he gets back to playing. So he has 29 points in 40 games, and last season he played the full season fully healthy, and he was a 50-point player in the Philadelphia Flyers. Traded, I do not kid, a second-round pick just to get rid of his contract.
Oh, wow.
Chuck Fletcher.
Chuck Fletcher, man. That's all you got to say about that. You're just no other words. Just Chuck Fletcher trades away Shayne Gostisbhere and acquires Rasmus Ristolainen. Man, all I'm saying is thank God I'm not a Flyers fan. Oh, what's that, buddy?
He's like the only GM who would make that kind of move. Man, we give him some heat on this show, but seriously. You know what?
Oh man,
he's unique. He's unique.
Yeah, I don't. He's something else. That guy, man. He's no comment. That's all. No comment.
Yeah, and there also some interesting talk recently from 32 Thoughts about Jesse Puljujarvi being put on waivers. I don't know if you expect that to happen, but I would be kind of shocked, but I would expect him to get claimed at the very first moment that he gets put on waivers, because I'm sure a team at the bottom of the league would probably say, we'll take a chance on him.
Oh, sorry, I think I froze there earlier, buddy. My apologies there. But
it's okay.
I heard about Jesse Puljujarvi too. That him going on waivers is like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I remember hearing that on 32 Thoughts as well, and I was like, wow, that's a big gamble putting a guy like that on waivers, because a guy who's still young like him, like again 20, I think he's like 25 or 24. That's a big gamble, just letting him kind of go for free, right, like that, because he can go on another team in a new system and just get a completely fresh start and just completely thrive, right? So it's a big gamble, but I think because it sucks because it really hasn't worked out for him in Edmonton. And, for a guy who was drafted as high as him, it's like, you'd think like by now, you got to abide to the system. And it just seems to not be gelling. And, maybe I know there was a lot of animosity like a few years ago. I think he went back to Europe for a bit and there was some drama. And, it's just unfortunate how it's kind of panned out there. But again, I think if he goes to another team, there's a good chance that he leaves and just absolutely thrives in another franchise. So that's Edmonton's just gonna have to live with that. So
I think he will thrive in another team no matter what it is because whenever I've watched him throughout his junior career, whether it be at the U18s or the World Juniors, he played at the World Juniors as a 16-year-old, and he was one of the best players on the team just as a 16-year-old, which absolutely amazed me.
mhm. Are you good, buddy? Did you
I thought
freeze?
you froze for a second.
Oh, I think I. Oh, sorry, guys. I think we're having some connection problems here. I think we'll be fine.
I
But
think we
yeah,
will,
man.
yeah.
Like I think you were. I think we'll be okay. Hopefully, let's just pray. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like you were saying, how the under 16 tournament, how he was a very valuable player, and it's yeah. Again, a guy with such such promise like that, it'd be a really. Oh, are we good?
I think you froze again.
Oh shit! Sorry, man. Fuck. All right.
Mhm.
Sorry to our viewers here. I don't know what's going on with the Wi-Fi. It was working great all show until we good now.
Hey, you're still a little frozen on the screen, but it's like very glitchy. Like it's frozen out and it's glitchy a bit, but
Oh
like we can
man,
still hear you. It's some but still kind of choppy.
no worries. Let's see if hopefully we can try and move forward. With our trade rumors. Sorry.
Yeah.
One name that's been bouncing around a lot is Timo Meier, and also I don't know if we talked about Jacob Chychrun yet.
We haven't
In
talked about him yet, but
Arizona,
that's a weird
and
situation.
I think the Kings were a fit for him.
Yeah, the Kings were a pretty good fit for him, but then there was a whole Nick Kypreos report that came out, and they pretty much said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna trade him like for Brant Clark," and then Brant Clark was like, "Okay," and at least Brant Clark was thought he was getting traded, and the Kings informed him, "Yeah, we're not trading you," and then he's been sat out. And hopefully, this is the real time where he finally gets traded. But man, I just have no idea at this point.
Yeah,
I think Adrian's internet may have went out. Let's see if we can try to get him back. So it looks like let's see if we can get Adrian back now. Okay, please. Hopefully we can get him back. Okay,
Hello,
you're back
sorry
now,
guys.
Adrian.
Am I good? Could you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened there. But I think so going back to Chychrun, and maybe we'll wrap it up after this because it seems like the Wi-Fi is starting to trip out a little bit. But like it seems like every year, like again, we talked about this, like the last 2-3 years, I've heard every January to March about Jacob Chychrun being traded. It's like, oh, it's gonna happen this year, and it seems like it's all smoke and mirrors every year. Like last year, he was supposed to be gone by the deadline, and then it didn't happen, and I'm just like, okay. And now it's the next year, and I'm hearing rumors and trade proposals. We're hearing trade proposals, and it's like, okay, is it actually going to happen now? But apparently, like I think you said, Damen too, like he's sitting out till he gets traded. So I think could be legit, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, same here. I'm thinking. Do you think this is a good place to wrap up right now with the show?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, guys, the Wi-Fi is getting a little
we
bad.
could have gone on a bit longer, but we don't want like Wi-Fi issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to thank every one of you for taking your time and watching our show. It means the world to us, and we want you guys to make sure to smash that like button and also buy our merch.
Yes, sir. Get your Gallagher shirt here. I guess you could argue that the Eagles got Gallagher yesterday, but you know what? It's okay. It helped my parlay, so I don't care.
Yeah, we do not care. We just care that we win our money.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you again. Have a great night and a great week. Keep the Habs going. Just trust the process. The team's on the right track. So have a good week, everybody, and take care.
Cheers.